Very, very important, very critical idea that I've discovered over the years in business. Is everybody familiar with central planning, the concept of central planning? Anyone know what that means? Okay. Well, central planning is a philosophical approach to running an economy. And a lot of countries have tried it, and it was very popular last century. And what governments thought is, well, if we plan everything and we control all of the resources, then everything will run efficiently. And it didn't really seem to work out because most of those economies eventually fell, went under, became bankrupt. And the ones that are still holding on and trying it are really experiencing a lot of problems. When you try to control something too much, the paradox is that it doesn't work. It's like taking a human and saying, I am going to control you and you are going to do it my way. There's something about that system that just says, I don't behave that way. I don't perform when I'm being controlled. And strong business people, especially people that come from big company backgrounds, in a lot of cases, want to do what I call planning the success. They want to plan the whole success as it's going to happen. And if you grow your company and you run into strong business people, you're going to have them ask you to plan out the success of the future and to tell them what's going to happen. How much are we going to sell a year from now? So we can allocate all these resources and create a budget for that. And you're going to turn to them and you're going to say, I have no idea how much we're going to sell in a year. And they're going to say, well, you have to know. That's the way they do it in big businesses. The difference, I want to kind of suggest a way of approaching this that is a great blend, I've found, or great balance. So instead of saying, here's the next step we're going to take, we're going to make this plan, we're going to take this step, and then we're going to take this step, and then we're going to take this one, and we're going to increase our results by this much, and then this next one we're going to take is also going to do that. And then if things aren't working, try to stick to the plan, because that's what's always blamed when things don't work out. Well, we didn't stick to the plan we made, and that's why it didn't work. Instead of doing that, say, okay, where do we want to go? What would have to be true to get there? What would have to work? And test something as fast as you can. Try to get some results from a test so that you can then model and project. And what I like to do is I like to set up my first system, paradoxically, with as few conditions as possible. I try to put as few as I can and still have it be successful. Why do I like to do that? Because I want to see how the people are going to behave. I want to see how the system's going to behave. I want to see what it will do all by itself. And if you do that, you'll learn a lot. If you try to control it too much and control every aspect of what's going to happen with something brand new that you've never done, you won't be able to see what's happening. You'll be too stuck in trying to plan all of your success. So with all of the people that are going to be saying to you in your future as you grow a successful company, we got to plan it. What's the next thing? And how much money are you going to make here? And I mean, only on Wall Street and in investment bank projections does the sales line always go up. It doesn't happen in the real world. Say, here's an idea. Let's test. We'll run this test. If the results are between here and here, then we've got a winner. You've got to test it. And that goes for everything. If you've got a new marketing campaign, do not spend a whole bunch of money on this marketing campaign and design and layout and getting all the placement right and then run it. Spend $200 and see if anyone calls. If no one calls, then don't blow the thing up. Things are probably not going to work big if they don't work small. One of the metaphors that I like to use is, I read in this great book, and Ralph on our team, who's in the back there, comes from Boston. He always uses this term. Anyone here from Boston? Yeah? You know how the streets of Boston were created? They paved over the cow paths. Right? So the road system, I read this in The Path of Least Resistance, great book. The cow paths in Boston follow the sensibilities of the average 17th, 16th century cow. And if you've ever been there and walked around and driven around, you can see what I'm talking about. Right? They're just, it's a mess. Anyone ever been to Prague? Prague. It's close to Boston in terms of the roads. Right? They probably did the same thing, I'll bet, in maybe around the same period, maybe 1,000 years earlier. Well, a farmer on our team was telling me about the University of Oregon. He and I both grew up in Oregon. And he was telling me a story about how at the U of O, back 100 years ago, some brilliant genius laid the whole campus out and put all the buildings to the campus, but didn't put down the sidewalks. And then let the students go, and then watch where they walked automatically, where they made their own paths, where it was natural to go from building to building. Who travels from what building to where, what paths naturally where. And then once the paths had created themselves, then they said, okay, now we know where to put the sidewalks. So they put the important conditions in place, and then they ran the system, and they saw what happened, and then they said, okay, this is the way